Let's go. It's that time of the week again. We are back. Reality After Show. Triangles up. We are back with your coverage of Australian Survivor. We're covering episodes 7 through 9 this week. As always, I'm Dan Montchal here with Alex Trias, stand-up comedian Wayne Memmott, and our queen, the runner-up of Blood versus Water, Chrissy Zaremba. What is going on, everyone?
What's up?
Oh, what a week. This Australian Survivor keeps hitting it out of the park. Viewership is up. Like, everyone is loving Heroes v Villains.
Yeah, we're going to get into the episode, but I mean, all we saw the entire week leading up to is the biggest tribal ever and, one of the best episodes ever. And I feel like most times when you get that, it's never really lives up to it. But man, do we start with a bang this week.
I also just want to say, before we continue, who was it that on the podcast last week said something along the lines of, watch it, they keep hyping this up, and all it is Fraser going home.
Our own Alex right here.
I'm right sometimes, folks.
I laughed so hard when he went home. Oh my God. It's like, Alex was right, kind of. Like
I was right, kind of. But both things can be true. Fraser did go home, but what a 5+ minute affair of tribal council.
Listen, when you get to minute 25 and they're done with the challenge and you're like, oh fuck, god damn, there's some shit coming.
It's only just the challenge that's finished. We've still got the whole episode to go.
Right. Don't even remember what the challenge was on that episode, I'm not gonna lie.
And Chrissy, you were with these two this week as well as many others, were you not?
Look, we were needed to make sure my two boys are still friends. So Georgie flew up from Sydney and yes, we all watched that mind-blowing and freakishly intense tribal together, and the boys were together, and just for the record, they are still very close friends. Everyone hugged at the end. I think it's just you do get told so many times when you watch the ads and stuff, biggest Australia's ever seen, most surprises, this actually was, they delivered, and now everyone is hooked, right? That's 7. If you're watching now.
I mean, I would venture to say biggest of all Survivor. That had to have been the best tribal council of all of Survivor. I really challenge people to find a bigger tribal council with more twists and turns than that one was.
So
I'm sure Alex can find them, but
look.
Plurality votes are always my favorite votes but the first one that comes to mind to me, and I know a couple other people on the Facebook pages were referencing it, it's in Winners at War, where they do the plurality that sends Sophia out, and it's a legitimately live tribal, everyone's scrambling out of their seats, talking, making plans, making new plans, and you really see the difference between how to tactfully whisper and get your job done in episode 7 versus how you can do it incredibly wrong in episode 9.
Yeah.
The only other tribal that came to mind, and it wasn't nearly as exciting, was the first time we saw the Genius of Suri with their 3-2-1 split. But I mean, I think that's a perfect comparison, because if you think Suri, you're thinking someone like George or Shawnee, these huge social players. So that's where we start off episode 7. Before the preview, Australian Survivor loves to give us that snippet at camp, and they're going to keep building to it. So all we get is Simon thinks he has an idol that's really fake, and it's just more and more into this George and Simon feud.
Oh, man.
So can I ask you, Chrissy, and don't give anything away that you can't, were they pleased, understanding, not happy with the edits of the show when you were watching him? Was it representative of what happened in this episode? Are they that's pretty representative of what happened?
Everything in there, except there was a fair bit of talk, not with.
Well, Not a bit of talk. What a cliffhanger. Going full
Oh,
Sopranos
jeez.
on us.
When we get her back, we will have her finish up
Yep.
that little snippet. But from there, the next thing we go is they're over at Hero Beach, and there's the talk about Jerry. Did Jerry survive the tribal council? Is Jerry coming back? And more, what you see is just Sharni and Jerry. You know, they love each other. They have that close relationship. Unfortunately, it seems like no one else is really in with them.
Yeah, I think more people are in with Jerry than they are with Sharni. I think there's got to be something they're not showing us because people don't seem to really like Sharni. Oh,
she'll come back.
Yeah, sure.
We'll interrupt. But I mean, are you guys getting that? Where you're like,
So-
it doesn't seem like anybody's connecting with her except for Jerry.
I don't think they really did a good job of representing it, but it felt like, based off what I've seen on social media, like especially the Ben of it all, it sounded like while people looked at her as like in the minority, I feel like she was like good enough with the meat tray, where like
Right.
because her play, I'm not going to use the word. But her play is that very weird thing of, oh, I'm going into a game of manipulation and lying, and I'm going to be integrity, loyalty, like respect, like all that stuff. So I'm a person of my word. Like I won't vote for Jerry. And her fault is making it so known that Jerry's her number one. Yeah. I will never vote for her. But I think they almost respect that because it's like, oh, you know, she's being straightforward. We'll still send him out. She won't have any qualms about it as long as she's not involved with actually taking him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here, Chrissy, we can go back to what you were saying about. No, not a problem. You were talking about George and Simon, like representation, if they thought the edit was accurate. But I think you were about to say that there was one thing that maybe.
I think, and that wasn't from the boys being there telling me. I think it had been said that when they got back to camp after that showdown, the exhaustion of it all took its toll, and lots of that didn't get the edit. So Geordie was blowing up, the girls were defensive, George was shook. So those little things, you know it's happened anyway. They can't put the show on there. But in terms of it actually happening and what was said and how it went down, yeah, it seems very accurate. I think what the hard part is for Simon and George, who respect each other so much and they're friends out of the game, you still got to hear that again. You're triggered as shit again. And you don't feel like it's going to be that mean, but it's that mean at the time. And you're in the bubble, but when you're out, it's a little bit not so harsh. Like you could see Simon's little face in the episode when he realized that George's gone and dogged him. You see his upset face, you know, he's like, really? I saw that face when we were watching the episode, like, George, you really said that? But then you got to see George's side as well. Simon said some stuff to him. So you see George has always had issues with, you know, the good-looking big alpha males because they gave him a hard time in school or whatever. Everyone's got triggers. So watching it back, it's so confronting. There's even stuff that I watched in mine that you forget about and you try and bury and you see it and go, oh, shit, that did happen, you know. But all aside, when we wrap up in terms of that episode, no, I think the editing was, from what I know, and I don't know shit, but from what I know, it seems, pretty spot on.
Well, I'm glad that they were able to, you know, they're on a good page now, because I think we've seen that a lot where a lot of stuff happens on the island and afterwards you see contestants they make up. But as you were getting into, when you actually have to hear people say that over and like play back months later, it just reopens that wound. So fingers crossed that, you know, they stay your two boys.
Yeah, they were perfect on the night. They still are perfect now, but it is, as a player of the game, it is so intense, and it's all good and true we sit here in our lounges and take the piss. You know, I'm not going to go there too soon with Paige stuff, but I've met the kid and she literally had a shocker, and that's what she's going to be remembered as. And her edit makes her look like a whinging old 50-year-old, you know, but she's actually a really sweet person. So that's TV.
Yep.
They
show what they want to show.
Yeah. From there, so we're going back to Villain Beach, and this is kind of all about Jerry. You know, Jerry feels that, you know, he was thrown to the wolves. He's still there. we get the introduction of maybe Jerry's the next, into the Spice Girls is Old Spice.
Yes.
Second best Spice Girl name. Second best. The second best.
The first one hasn't come yet.
The first one hasn't come. At the time, it was the best. I was like, oh, perfect. Yeah, he has to be just based on the name alone. But
and Jerry's the first one that really says, vocalizes that we hear anyway, that Simon would throw the villains under the bus to go join the meat tray. Simon loves his alpha males.
Yeah, but so does Geordie normally.
Yeah.
Not this season.
Not this.
I think someone said it on a different podcast, and I agree. I think Geordie took how the fandom reacted to last season and was like, okay, I'm coming back in here. That also didn't work for him. And between both of those things, he's like, I should not let that happen.
Yeah.
And we have George with this whole 3-episode span. He is a quote machine. But you have right here, Jerry, that sweet 64-year-old geezer, is going to help me put the final nail in Simon's coffin.
Isn't he wild? Think of this shit.
He is a quote machine. Like he gets it. Like there's people on Survivor who are good characters, but they don't realize that they're the character. George comes in there. He knows what he is. He knows what they brought him for. And he's able to just roll with it.
And I've thought about it, and us being on a podcast that Johnny, who's not here this week, but he'll be hopefully back in a month or so.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, maybe. Hope. The thing is that we're with Johnny, who is also a person who realizes that he's a character on a show. So we're kind of watching this, knowing that we know Johnny and know what we know about Johnny. And that's why I think we gravitate toward George so much. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people gravitate toward George, but us specifically, why we like it, because he's like very acutely aware that I am a character on a show. They put me on the villain's tribe.
And that's why we hate people like Webby.
Yes.
No,
he does not realize the role that he is playing.
Alex, you'll have your time. It's okay. It's coming.
Damn it. Continue.
So kind of the last little bit that you get is you're seeing more of this George and Geordie strategy talk. Doesn't really come to too much, but at this point, Geordie's saying he wants to kind of play both sides. And we're going to keep moving forward because let's be honest, we all want to get to talking to tribal council. So
wait, but we do need to clarify. This is where Geordie tells Shiz and George, the Spice Girls, Simon has an idol. An idol.
Yep.
And so that's going to be used against him. Like, I think this was the one mistake that Geordie made this episode. Because I think everything else, spot on. He wants this majority because he sees that they're shrinking and the heroes are going to be mateship. So you need to have as loyal of a group as possible. And if Simon and George are going head to head, but George has numbers and only thing that Geordie has to rely on is Fraser, you need to jump ship. So I think he should have held on to talking about the idol until a more appropriate time.
Do you?
Yeah, because he got thrown under the bus for it.
Yeah, but what if the appropriate time that we're thinking he was going to have never came? Like,
I think it's something where if you have lost, then you mention it.
Let's put it this way. His mistake was telling George that Simon has an idol. Under most Survivor circumstances, he's not going to get thrown under the bus like that. But George is going in knowing that he needs to drive this wedge in between his other side to peel off as many numbers to his majority away from the other side. So his mistake was specifically telling George. I don't think that the Shiz does with that information what George does with that information.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I'm glad he made that decision anyway.
Yeah, me too. God damn it. Best TV episode ever.
From here, we're going to the immunity challenge, and at first, this is where.
What even was it?
It was the giant ball.
Oh.
It was the giant ball. Yeah,
no one really manscaped ball. There are two.
Yeah, there are two.
So, Manscaped from the Survivor.
Separate away. You should see a doctor. But The first thing that happens here is before they get to the challenge is Jerry's given the choice. Does he want to rejoin the hero tribe or does he want to stay with the villains? And we'll see that it's worked out for him.
Yeah, but no.
I don't think that was the right decision to make.
It results-oriented logic. Him, in this 3 episodes, him and Ben both make, I shouldn't say dumb decisions because it's heat of the moment stuff. But he, I think, was thinking, well, if I stick with the villains, then I will never have the trust of all the heroes. And I think Sharni being over there is also a big thing for him. And if he believes Sharni would be isolated, he wants to go there to be with Sharni. I think he should have stayed with the villains 100%. Like, he was in a spot where he was never going to be in danger on that group, especially facing a swap very soon.
Yep.
Yeah, but Jerry goes back to the heroes. We get to this immunity challenge, which, as Wayne said, no one really cared about. But it's pretty much a 3-on-3 matchup. Each tribe has their own giant wooden ball. You're trying to roll it through the other tribe's goal. First to 2 wins from what we see. We can kind of go through it pretty quickly, but round 1, it's Simon, Shawnee, and Liz versus Sean, Flick, and Haley. And not really close.
No, and again, we see George tell Simon and the tribe, like, no, we don't need Simon on the one that we're going to go up against Sean. This is, again, like George showing, like, I'm still trying to win this for the tribe, and I can't go against Sean, but put, me or Stevie out there against Sean because you're not going to beat him, and we need you to beat Webby or whoever else, and it's just Simon's haughtiness, which I think really, like, I'm not a huge fan of. I'm sure he's a very nice person. I don't want to talk ill of him.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to justify that.
But the haughtiness that he has through this game about, like, I have to go out. There are no survivor resumes. This is going to be a season of whoever's left at the end. Everyone's going to have a resume when they get to the end of this game, regardless of how you got there. Yeah. So you don't need to be like, oh, I beat Sean in the water ball challenge or whatever.
I agree with both sides here. Like, I can see from George's perspective that it's Simon trying to have, like, his ego moment, but I can also sympathize with Simon here where you see this and you, like, put all this pressure on yourself of, like, I'm the big guy of the tribe. I need to show my tribe that I can get the job done against their big guys. Yeah. So I need to take this for the team. It's like a martyr approach without intentionally it being a martyr approach, which is why I think there's that loss in translation between the two. Of, is it ego? Yes, but it's also not. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that does make sense.
Here we're having a little bit of feedback. We good?
I am killing us today. Hang on, guys.
It's all good.
Because look, I'm trying to get to the laptop so that this doesn't keep disconnecting.
Right.
Yeah. Here we're good. I'm not hearing the feedback anymore, so I think we're okay.
Yep.
So let's.
But from here we go to round 2, which is really where they could have used Simon. Now, obviously, Chrissy's talked about a lot that there's a ton of rounds that we're not seeing, but the round 2 that we're shown as the deciding point, because Simon already went, it's Sam, David, and Maddie versus George, Jordy, and Frazier. And
hey, you know what? They gave a good effort for what they had available to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. It's like you knew you weren't going to win, but maybe there's a chance. Like, Jordy does his best to defend. I think George, once again, for someone of his size, does a good job of trying to be a fighter, being that little, like, gnat on, like, the other, like, big guys. Because he could just
we do have the quote, George on David's ankle like the Bankstown Bulldog.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I thought he was a cockroach.
He's a Bankstown cockroach and bulldog.
He's
a bull roach.
And, so getting through the immunity challenge, heroes win. And unfortunately, our boy Stevie says, yes, we can get George out. No, Stevie, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, from there we're going back to Villain Beach, and this is where shit gets crazy.
Yeah.
Chrissy, maybe try leaving, coming back.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I have zero sound. I'm so sorry. I don't know
That's
what
okay.
to do.
No, it's all right. We'll get it all figured out.
Yeah, Wayne, Dan, talk on it. I'll see.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we've got we're back at the camp, and we are seeing that we have Simon trying to get him and Stevie and Jordy and Fraser against the Spice Girls, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But then we've got the Spice Girl. Oh, this is my favorite part. The plan is called Anaconda for absolutely no reason.
Operation Anaconda. Yep.
Operation Anaconda. And their code words are mango, like go, mango, go. And then stop, papaya.
Chrissy, you're muted.
Unmute.
Unmute.
Nope, still muted.
No.
I think it's on the
Here, wait. I think I can change.
Well,
it
thank you
says-
for following
it's
us
the-
for our technical difficulty journey.
Oh, we love you.
Oh, is it working?
You're back.
Yeah,
There you go. You're good.
We're back.
I'm so. Let me just talk to the millions of viewers. I'm so sorry. I don't know anything technological. I don't even. Dan's saying to me, check your audio setting. I don't even know what setting is. I'm just like this.
Hey, it worked.
Sorry. Okay, go.
We had
Okay.
another
Mango.
Mango.
Thing I love our boy Stevie just like doing his little toy soldier up to the side, like we got code words, we got skills. It's time to get to work.
Yeah.
It's time to get the job done. But let's go separate ways. Can't be seen together.
No, yeah, they're doing a great. Sorry, glasses.
Stevie.
First of all,
if you aren't watching the audio or the video, I got my Stevie glasses on. Because
2 out of
on the
4.
Reality After Show with Johnny Fairplay covering Australian Survivor, we here, as all the podcasting team, are Stevie stans.
Huge Stevie
Everybody.
stands. Everyone loves
So
Stevie.
everyone, if you're listening, if you're watching, please throw the triangle up, visualize Stevie's success, and your day will be better.
I wonder if he's listening. I'm going to find out.
Oh God!
I'm going to make
You
some
get him on the
calls.
podcast. I'll give up my spot to watch him on this podcast.
So I actually do think Stevie does a pretty good job here talking to George, like selling it. I was
Steve does
impressed.
Steve does a great job. I just think it's so crazy to have all this secrecy about getting out George. Like, hey, yeah, if you're not working with George, you're probably trying to get out George. It's not a big secret. Everybody on this whole island, on both sides of the island, production, everybody knows. Like, it's not that secret. Like, when it gets to the trial, when they're like, okay, it's a go, stick with the plan. It's like, oh, you mean the only plan? The only plan you fucking have is to get out George. That's all you've got.
Or if you look at it, this is someone that is going to protect you to the death. Like, look at what we're seeing with Shonny and Liz. Like, he didn't have to take those two to reward.
Nope.
Strategically, very, very clever, but very safe as well. He's either going to massacre everyone for you, or he's blowing shit up. And if you're in there, you're going down with the ship. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
I
What
didn't
was
think so.
his quote? He keeps doing it's like blank or death. It's I forget what exactly.
glory.
Glory or
Glory.
death.
Death.
Well, that's the one thing that you've always seen about George is people call him a snake and everything else, but when has he really cut one of his own?
He's never.
Never.
I haven't even
Never.
watched his, but from this, like,
If you're with George, George isn't going to turn on you. He's with you.
Nope.
I mean, unless he has another option.
Yeah.
But that's the brilliance of his game, though. That's honestly the brilliance of his game, is that he makes all these connections and he's like loyal. Some would even argue to a fault sometimes. I mean, honestly, like probably wouldn't have taken Liz and Shawnee on that reward.
No.
I'm not. I probably
honestly,
it ended up working out perfectly. Yeah. I
mean, even without results-oriented logic, I know it goes against all conventional wisdom. The difference here is it's George being the one who does it. And George is allowed to go against unconventional, or go against what is the right thing because it is George. It doesn't matter. It does not. It would be like being on Blood versus, or not Blood, Brains versus Brawn, and he just took Kara.
It doesn't matter what you do. This is my friend called him Rain Man and the Beautiful Mind. You know, Russell Crowe's Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
They're like, you can try all you want, but if you're going to stop his strat, he'll come in and dominate you with social. If you don't think he's social, he's beat you socially because he's social. You know, and all these other guys, unfortunately, for the dearest little Fraser of all his eight-year-old youth size, was in the crossfire of it. Like Georgie was just like, "What's the plan? We need a plan. All right, 3 on Fraser." He was just walking by. They probably didn't even know who he was.
Wayne, I just hope Fraser had a discount on that tattoo because it wasn't like giving a tattoo to a normal person. So like it should be discounted.
Dude, half the price of Crocs tattoos. That's all I'm going to say. Also, Sean commented on YouTube, and I know we have like super comments, but I just want to say if George had a fantasy football pool, yes, I would absolutely enter that. So, by the way, I would 100% enter that fantasy football pool. Chrissy, tell George to start fantasy football. I'll send him $1,000 unquestioned, and we'll just figure it out from there.
Yeah, no, but it would have to be for footy. It's not for football.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Australian rules football. Whatever team David's on, I'm rooting for that one. So
whatever he's doing.
He's a handsome fella.
I'm going to speak of David now just because he was brought up, because there's a solid chance his name isn't mentioned again the rest of the podcast. I was shocked that he's through 9 episodes, doesn't have a confessional, and that's still not the record.
Right.
The record comes from Chrissy, your beloved season. It's Mel. Mel made it 13 episodes.
Who?
There were 2 of them. And they still didn't get anything.
No.
But
getting back to
there's
episode
a new executive
7.
producer too. I found out.
Yeah.
So I think it's been better. So it still gives me hope for some of the people who haven't gotten a lot, like mainly the Nina of it all. Like Nina only has 3 confessionals, like
Sean?
under a minute. Sean's gotten a good amount. Sean's like in the top 4.
Yeah, but for considering the stature of this guy and what he's doing, it just shows how the show is just literally being led by Simon and George and the 2 girls at the moment. Like,
right, and I think the difficulty is they're the ones going to tribal so much. Like it's their story, and whenever we go to the heroes,
I know.
What's the hero's story? The hero's story up through episode 9 was we're going to target Ben and Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
Next episode, we are going to target Ben and Jerry.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll get there, but let's give the people what they want. They want us to talk about this amazing tribal council. So one of the last things we get before we get to tribal is Jordy. This is where he's talking and he's like, I'm done with Simon's leadership. I think it's my time to make a move. Well, you kind of made a move. George just didn't agree with it.
Yep.
But he does pull in Fraser. Sorry, what was that?
No, it just didn't get through the keeper. You can all have ideas, but
yeah. And Jordy does say here, he says, being a villain means that you're able to compromise friends for a win, which seen a little bit more of that Joker come out in him.
Not really, though.
Not in reference, but
no, I'm not even saying in reference. Like that is, I think, so normal. It's something that needs to be discussed more. Like not in this podcast. I mean, in terms of just how Survivor players play in general. It's like, yes, you're going to make friends with people. You can make up with people after the game. Like, if you are buddies, your mates, but this person is going to tank your game if he continues to be around you. You need to be able to cut bait.
Yep.
And then heading into tribal council, why not have another soundbite from George? Because he's full of them. This is where I have it, glory or death. And he says, death of Simon and the second coming of King George.
So when's the second coming happening? Because every episode it's the second coming of King George, Macedonian Jesus. He had a baptism in like the second episode. It's like,
yeah.
Is it official
yet? We'll figure it out. I guess to come, from what I'm getting from Chrissy. But anyway, so we go to tribal, and Wayne, you mentioned it. This is when I looked at, I was like, we're already at tribal council and there's 40 minutes left in this episode. Like, what the hell?
Wait. Everyone stop. I'm going to backstory you a bit, okay? So when this comes on, because we've got no idea, that they're sitting there. Now, you guys have got to know, they've probably been there for 5 hours already.
Yeah.
Okay? Yep. They're not fed. They've got a plan, and they think their plan's going to come off. So everyone there is cold, starving, exhausted, and they've been in isolation. You're not allowed to talk in those tents before you get there. So most of the time I'm getting in trouble because I don't want to not talk. I've got to make sure I'm not going home. So I'm like doing, are you sure you're not voting for me? Am I still going to be in this TV show? Right. So these poor bastards, to just be told you're about to not only do a challenge, but it's for immunity, or just you can see their faces like as someone who's been there. All you want to do is go to bed. You've been there for 5 hours, boys. It's 11 p.m. It could be 1.
Right.
So to see that they're going to have to, they don't know what they're going to do. Concentration, focus, best way to do it. Some of the girls just stopped, because they just, Liz was like, I'm just going to listen to what everyone's saying. I'm done. How George even still functioned to think about having conversations while Simon was dominating.
Right.
I don't understand.
I mean, when we get to that spot of the tribal, like I definitely want to talk about, I think it just shows further the difference game-wise of Simon and George and what they're prioritizing. But we get at the beginning of this, and this is where like things come to a head immediately, where like George just makes a comment, like, just a typical comment, like, oh, we're going to get rid of the weak. We need to keep this tribe together. We need to keep it weak. Weak is a very general term. Weak does not mean challenges. Weak doesn't. Weak could be, do I think you're trustworthy enough? Are you going to be loyal enough to our group? Like, there's other means of weakness. But Simon immediately goes into a dig of like, well, come on, mate. You're like, if we're talking weak here, and that's where it just immediately, that's where it trigger points both ways just start, and instant fireworks.
Yeah.
And as it goes, if Stevie says something at tribal, I'm required to write it down. So he says, I can feel the tension in the air. Yep. And this is really where you have George going off or whatever, saying, hey, I've already built my legacy. There's nothing else I really need to do to add to it. And he's like, some of you are out here for revenge, Simon, and that's stupid.
Right.
And so it all just kind of, it keeps boiling. I mean, the producers got exactly what they wanted. And then this is where JLP... Go ahead.
This is George's little digs, his tiny little passive-aggressive, I'm going to throw that in there. Someone's going to take the bait. It's going to make for good TV. He just implies some things. If you're being a smart ass, you might retaliate. If you're tired, you might retaliate. Those narcs eventually, he might have done 3 or 4 before they got to tribal. And on the 5th, someone reacts. Well, boom, there's your TV, isn't it?
There you go. Yeah. And like, and it felt hard for me because I felt like they gave Simon these few weeks a very negative light. And for all intents and purposes, and you see it online this week as well, like everyone from the Australian Survivor community has been coming out of the woodwork saying like just how nice of a person Simon is.
Yep.
And so like, yes, are him and George spatting, having arguments, like being a little passive aggressive to each other? Sure. You're also on an island. You have bitter emotions over your last game. Like things are going to go out, and they both chose each other as that vacuum of you are going to get all of this negative energy that I have pent up in me.
Yeah. Just imagine if they were working together. Can you just, I mean, the whole time I'm watching this episode, could you imagine if they were just working together?
And
If
just
they were
calling everyone.
yeah. What if they were just working together, just did all this and then came through to the next, and then all of a sudden Simon's got 3, George has got 3, and they come together to dominate and get. I mean, I don't think it'll happen, but if they could just put this,
narrative.
It would be a very good narrative if somehow
Yes.
both sides of this, like if no heroes go in these next few boots, and you come back together with that drama and seeing, are they still going to go head to head with all the heroes thinking that, and then George and Simon finally have something click to be like, well, why are we fighting?
right?
How about we deal with this later? Let's
Get
take
Webby.
out a big guy. And I know Chrissy can't talk much on things that may or may not happen, but maybe I'm on the right track here. Who knows? I was right before.
Yeah.
From here, this is where JLP says, hey, we're going to leave tribal. We have an immunity challenge coming in. Someone's going to win individual immunity.
Crazy.
And then we're going to come back.
Crazy.
Wow.
I mean, this is a first, right?
Yep.
I can't think of where this has happened where they were doing individual immunity. The closest thing would be if they were doing a surprise like double tribal council, that they did
Right.
like another challenge right at tribal.
Didn't they do in Brains Brawn where like they did that weird thing in the beginning before tribal of like, oh, only 3 people will have a vote? It's like something similar to it. And then they got to tribal like, well, now all 3 of you will compete and only 1 person will have a vote.
Right.
But you have to imagine all this, I think, comes down to that Jackie boot. Like, it's possible that this was supposed to be a non-elim, but because the Jackie boot, and on top of that, still going on with like sending someone home, I feel if the heroes had won this isn't in there. There's not space in there for 11 people to go.
Yep.
But I think because I think they had it in mind of like, okay, if the heroes go, we have this moment. Who knows? Like, we will need something to fill the episode, not knowing what was on the back burner.
Yeah. And then getting into this challenge, what I love so much of what Australian Survivor does is they take, classic, US Survivor challenges and then tweak it and add to it a little bit, which I absolutely love that because we've seen fire making and we've seen, tie all the sticks together, do a long pole.
Together.
Yeah, and then try to retrieve a key. But those are usually 2 separate challenges. So the fact that they combined it into one, I loved it.
That was great. A great random.
It was a Simon challenge, though, right?
It was the Simon challenge, but at the same time, I think it's a George challenge because you hear more of the bickering. It's like, oh, George, quote unquote, quit this challenge before, and you hear Simon trying to use that as a dig, and then George just immediately comes back and be like, well, you wouldn't know, Simon. You weren't here.
Right.
I was still in the game.
That little poke the bear.
And then you have Simon distracted by him and JPL because JPL's doing all of his dick jokes with holding your pole, edging around the ring, all that stuff. It's like, and you see while he's making those jokes, like he's making all those jokes, and immediately George stops what he's doing, essentially quitting again, but with purpose. And he immediately goes to Shawnee, Liz, like anyone who can hear, like, change a plan. We're all going on CD, knowing once stuff breaks down, he actually has an alternative plan that he's going to reveal to Shawnee and Liz.
Yeah,
it's just his mind being able to work here at the moment. Your target, who was going to be blindsided, suddenly is going to gain immunity. No one's going to be able to stop him. Jordy's your best shot, but he hasn't even gotten the key yet. This is Simon's challenge. What's your backup? What's your backup to the backup?
Oh.
Yeah. So 2 things that we jumped a little bit past that I wanted to touch was simply, it was some of the dick jokes because I love just the whole thing with Shawnee. It's like Shawnee working quietly and going to take her pole for a spin. And Jordy goes, how does it drive? Shawnee goes, not well. Wouldn't recommend it.
Don't buy it.
And
it was very limp.
The other thing that I saw that is interesting is when Simon was making his fire, and we saw it in a previous challenge where it was the giant bonfire elimination, something that it really stuck out to me this time is the way that Australians make their fire it's different in US Survivor. And I think it's more effective because rather than using the machete and striking against the flint, we saw Simon or whatever hold the machete down and use the flint to keep striking against it. And it seems like it worked a lot better than what we've seen on the US side of it.
I'll have to rewatch that.
Excuse me. I noticed that. I also noticed that they always make a note, like a point in Survivor, it's like, oh, you only have so many husks or whatever. But I feel like the last fire making challenges, maybe the last 5 fire making challenges I've watched across all Survivors in various seasons or whatever, it's like, no, just throw all that shit in there and strike a big ass fire, and then hopefully it goes. Like all or nothing. Like none of this saving husks. If I'm ever in a fire building challenge, I am putting all of them in a pile and I'm striking the fuck out of them, and then I'm stacking up wood and hoping it works.
That's me. Yep.
Right.
But you do only get what you're given.
Yeah.
Right.
So
but it seems like they're given a lot. Like it's, I mean, Simon had no issue, but Simon seemed like he had a lot of stuff there that was just like piled up.
But I think he also did a good job of creating his TP over it, so that once he struck, it was like a firm TP that it allowed that fire to just channel through like immediately. It wasn't like a small spark and then coming up. It was like you have a channel already. Now here's the chimney. Boom.
No, but like once I have a little fire going, I'm throwing all the rest of that husk on there as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm just putting it. I'm putting it on the, like, if I'm allowed, I'm putting it on the string and then like letting it and letting like hang down, just like shoot up. You're probably not allowed to do that, but if I can get away with it, I would.
Let's put it this way: they're not going to be allowed to do it after you do it on Survivor. That's
It's not happening again. Yeah. This is such a great moment for him though, because you can see it, and the edit, it hurt me, the edit, because I don't think, you know how, so Simon was crying. He'd waited for this moment. This was his redemption. I felt like this was his, okay, I'm finally going to be accepted. I have immunity and I did it myself and I beat all the best. Then he's emotional. You can see, you can't fake those tears, and you are hooked. It's 2 a.m. by now for these guys. And then they went straight to him smiling.
They did not. I agree. I noticed that. They did not edit him well. I feel like
it's very like, unfortunately, I feel like they keep giving him like a dodo edit. It's like he's so happy, and you should feel for him. I think the biggest issue overall, this is just the fact that he was put on the villain tribe. But he is, I'm sorry, he's obviously a hero role player. Yep. Like, not just because he's good at challenges, but just like his
hero role player.
Right.
But he's been casted as a villain to stir shit up. Like, it's brilliant.
Yep.
Right. But so it's like you have all that, but it's like, oh, he's happy. This is just what's on the foreground. What we want you to actually be paying attention to is the background, where everyone's whispering to each other about what the new plan is, and then Stevie out in the corner. And
Simon's got no idea that this is all happening while he's in his glory moment.
No, it was so well done by George, just realizing, hey, we lost this. What's the backup plan?
Yep.
And I'm glad that it was talked about, because I did have it here. I did want to give, Simon his flowers, because you could see in the moment how much it meant to him. So
I'm glad you saw that, because I'm allowed to like him. And when I watched it, I looked at him, and the laugh, everyone in the place that we watched it laughed. And I'm looking at him and his missus, and I'm like, no, this isn't a laughing moment. This is Simon's Survivor. I mean, George comes out and absolutely annihilates the situation, but at least for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, but also, like, Simon knew this was a big tribal council for his game. And so to know, like, hey, there's a really good chance that this guy's outmaneuvered me and I'm going home tonight. And I'm saying this as I don't know what the fuck this thing is in my pocket. I have no idea. And to come out and then like do this challenge and beat everybody after a long ass day, like you're pointing out, Chrissy, and like smoke the challenge, like no one even close to you.
No one.
And like to have that moment kind of stolen, like I did feel for him. It wasn't it was still very clear, like George edit. So I would imagine like a lot of survivors that aren't George on this season are probably really bummed out that the whole season is like on George.
Right.
Like we love George. I love watching George. I would love but I could see how some of the, like even Shawnee's whole story is pretty much still just kind of tied to
Nina.
George.
What if you're watching this to see Nina? Who's Nina?
Yeah.
We're 9 episodes in and we still haven't heard anything
But
about
she
Nina.
hurt herself again? Where is she?
Right.
So this gets us back, and I think in Simon's mind, like he knows someone in his group was going to be targeted. Maybe it would be him at this point. He does, but
he does mention that because so when they first get back to tribal, they're not even sitting down. They're immediately split. You have the 4 guys on one side and the Spice Girls on the other. And that's kind of the first thing that we get is Simon saying, I know I was going to be a target tonight. But you still see like that he's decent and I think he's talking about Jordy here saying that, oh, I'm afraid that someone else on my side is going to be getting those votes.
Yep. Right. Like he thinks Jordy or Stevie was going to be getting votes. But I love George here too, where he briefly talks to Shawnee and Liz like, I have a plan. Just trust me on this. I'm going to go sit down. You go talk to them. Make them believe that you are willing to vote me out. Yep. And they do it. And it's the beginning of the execution. They all, and Simon it was interesting here where like they're talking with him and Simon immediately just like shuts it all down. And he's like, well, if it's 6 of us and he's just sitting there, let's just talk in the group.
He does still manage to say mango. So,
mango. Mango Stevie.
Mango, Stevie, mango.
I did love this
mango.
from JLP. He talks to it. He's like, Simon, do you need me to pick someone for you?
Yeah.
But I'm happy he gets his moment here again, like talking about like his emotions of winning an immunity, something that evaded him. The opportunity evaded him in his first go around. But then this is where like things start getting a little wild again.
And I do kind of feel a little bit for Jordy here because of what ends up blowing up in his face with all of this. Because as the 2 of them are going back and forth, he's like, Survivor's supposed to be fun, not to be assholes to each other. And it's like, Jordy, we'll see if you still feel that way in 20 minutes.
Yep, you're about to get cooked.
This is like new upcoming parent Jordy. Jordy's like, I'm just here to have fun, hopefully win for my kid. Jordy. Like, I just want this. Like, his whole thing is cohesion. I need this group to stick together. Please stop fighting. Please stop fighting. It's both your dads are fighting right now, and I don't like it. So please stop.
It's like we have to get rid of someone, but we have to be together because eventually we're going to merge or swap or something. Like,
is this where George?
We have George's quote here. It says, Simon, you're going to see tonight. There's no one's a bigger warmonger than I am, and I'm about to blow shit up.
Yep.
Is this where they break off again?
Yeah.
And they break off, and this is the quote that I really love. He's with Shawnee and Liz, and he goes, it does not matter what they're doing because they know Jordy and Fraser are voting for Stevie. They have turned on Simon. And he's like, we are an indivisible 3. Our votes are what are going to win the day. We for our votes, this person's going home. You do not hear the name. So you don't know if it's you. All you know, it's not
Fraser or Jordy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they come back together, and that's where he starts. This is where the idol taunt happens. Your best mate threw you under the bus to me, saying that you have an idol. So we'll really see if you are a hero. Like, I'm showing all of you how to play this game right now, and you're not going to like what happens.
And even while that's all happening, this is someone who is completely controlling the numbers unintentionally and without anyone suspecting. Like, he's foreseeing that he's going to literally create wedges between 6 different players.
Yeah.
They've all got no idea.
When Stevie gets up to go vote and he just pulls the idol out and goes, oh, Jonathan, they're green this year. And he just starts swinging it around his head.
And only George could get away with this, because I've never seen someone like pull something out during the voting phase. It's but I think he gets away with it. Well, I think he gets away with it because they're at the last vote at that point. Stevie's going in. Stevie's not going to change his vote, but he doesn't see it. Stevie goes
exactly
and he pulls it out and he goes, well, how loyal are you going to be, Simon? How loyal are you going to be? And they come back and we have tribal part 3.
Right.
And he's like, I'm going to be playing this for myself. I know I'm getting votes tonight. We all voted for Stevie. There are 5 votes on Stevie, Simon. Are you going to save Stevie? And it's like he throws Jordy under the bus. Jordy still does the plan. And he does all this to keep his 3 and to gain Stevie as a number. Like, he's ensuring that his result will happen no matter what.
Yep.
And the other 3 people left on that tribe that aren't the Spice Girls can't trust each other.
Well, and let's go back to him and Stevie's conversation. When Stevie thinks that he's getting one over on George, George takes that moment to be like, no, Stevie, like, you know, I really value you. I think you're a great player. Like he really, like, you can tell from that conversation, like, it's George being George, but it's also like, it seems genuine, whether it is or not. You know, I assume George has genuine bones in his body and really does make genuine connections, because you can't fake these connections that get people to blindly trust you to vote however you decide, unless you're a genuine person.
Yeah, but they're not just trusting in him. Like, they want to work with him. They literally, they're doing, to me, this is a person who is so trusted and so feared. He can do no wrong.
It's like, it's only people like George that can pull a move like this off. Like, he is throwing Stevie to the wall. Like, Stevie is bait. Stevie is the chum. Stevie was the person he voted for in the second vote as his, like, just in case you will go home instead of me. Like, and Simon has spent all this time building a genuine connection with Stevie. Like, you can tell that from Simon's perspective, he does value Stevie. But then when push comes to shove and he's like, well, if he's telling the truth and I save Stevie, then one of my other people are still going to go home.
Right.
The other thing
if I keep it for myself and Stevie goes, I'm on an island.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that he does really well here is he keeps bringing it up, saying, are you going to protect Stevie? And it's not, so that way it's not just once, it's something that Stevie can't overlook. Like, it isn't just like, hey, I gave Simon 5 different chances here from what we saw to save you, and he said no in all of it. And it's just, it was masterful. And you have George going here that he says he's playing his idol for myself. He said, Simon, are you going to play the idol for Stevie? Because JLP doesn't have all night.
Oh, man. It was just.
Are you a hero or a villain? Are you a hero?
This is a chance for you to rewrite your history. Use your idol, and we can reconvene as one unit. If you don't use your idol, you are dead.
And here's where we get the episode title. Wayne's episode title is Dead Duck. It is Dead Duck is the episode title that I picked for this episode.
It was the
you've been played, Simon, and it wasn't by me. You're a dead duck.
And it was just like, you're in those second person choose your adventure stories, and you end up in a spot where it does not matter what decision you make. And that's what Stevie recognizes as soon as the idol is, like, shown. He's like, oh, it's checkmate. George won. Like, George has figured it all out. Whatever George wants to happen is going to happen regardless of what the plan is. Like, you see Stevie, like, vocally expressing this to the group. It's like, it does not matter. He's getting his way. Like,
Stevie.
He outsmarted all of us.
Yeah. He's really put through the ringer here. So we finally do get to the votes. We have the 2 votes for George that don't count. We see the 2 for Stevie. And the river card absolutely crushes Fraser.
Wow.
Also, could we say here on the outro, once again, I want to give props to Jordy here. Because, like, Simon and George go straight back into arguing. And it's Jordy who's like, hey, quit it. Let him and Stevie are like, let Fraser have his moment.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, that was amazing.
Like, no matter what they showed him as in the edit being invisible, like, Fraser was a player on this game, in this game. He was the only one who had an exit press. of the 3 boots. Sharni was sick, and they did not schedule any for Phoebe. Or, what? I don't care. P-name.
Yeah. So we do
girl.
have it here, which is you can see that loyalty cuts deep, as Stevie says to Simon. It's clear that we aren't friends anymore.
Oh my God. I was gutted. And then you go straight into like episode 8 where like he's bawling on the beach.
We're going to get there.
My Stevie.
The only thing is we will say Frasier is gone. And I've made a lot of jokes of Frasier this whole podcast. That small little man. I'm sure you're a great person. I want to come to Australia in the next year or 2. Please don't have me murdered. I think you're probably great. And I was worried because I was like, where am I going to focus all of this hatred, this energy towards? And I say, and then the Survivor gods gave me Paige.
I welcomed you with open arms.
I will say, I think Frasier did get kind of an invisible edit. I feel like he was probably more game playing than they probably showed of him. I feel like there was just so much happening on his tribe with such big personalities. I mean, you've got Simon, George, and Shawnee, let alone Jordy. I mean, those 4 alone will draw all of the attention of everything.
Absolutely agree.
So I do feel bad for Frasier. I would like to see him come back as a returning player now that he's got the shock of Survivor out, because I do feel like from the small little snippets we got of him, he was like playing the game, like he wasn't just like a guy there excited to be on an island. Like he was there to play Survivor. He was on a tribe with some of the best Survivor players that we've ever seen.
But I think the other issue here is, again, soapbox. When you do essentially a fan versus favorite season, like Sarah goes out because she just wants to lay low, let the returnees control the game for now. But let them eat each other. They eat you instead. Same thing with Frasier. Same thing with Sharni. Same thing with Paige. Because it could have been Flick who went on episode 9. It could have been a returnee. They actively chose Paige because Paige was allowing the bigger names, the alpha males, the returning players, to dictate what she was going to do in the game. And it was the same thing here with Frasier, where Frasier had a good connection with Jordy. And he says in his exit press that he does have a good relationship with George and with Shawnee and Liz, but he realized when they were getting smaller, he's like, oh, now the big dogs are going to go at each other, and now this is where I can really just let them go at each other. So he, at least, I give him a lot of credit, admits that it was a total blind side to him, that he had no expectation that his name was going to be the one showing up at the end of the day. So I feel for him. Will we see him again? Most likely not, based off how they edited him. But I hope that he enjoyed the time that he was there. Yeah.
So this will take us on to episode 8. Wayne, I'll let you give your title because mine's just The Rise of Shitty Paige. So go for it.
No, I mean, this isn't my title. I think this is the group title. So I'll just give the story behind this title. Is that I hadn't watched this episode yet, and I get a message from Dan and Alex, be like, "We know the title. We're not telling you. Just tell us when you get to that point.
You'll know it.
You'll know it." And it's just, I don't think God likes Paige. Like, that is
really, that should be just the story of episode 8 and episode 9. Is I don't think God likes.
I feel like we could nearly wrap up this episode, like literally, because that is just so tragic, and it not dominate the entire episode. I don't know what happened in this episode.
Yeah, we went really long on episode 7. We can kind of get through episode 8 quickly.
Episode 8's a quickie.
But we will start out with is getting back to it. It starts out, after the morning after Tribal, and this is where you see Stevie kind of breaking down to Shawnee and Liz, and it's heart goes out to you, Stevie.
So I'm not a crier. Like you'll hear Johnny talk about on a lot of episodes, like I bawled for 5 minutes straight, like seeing the scene. This got me a little bit because it's like it's Stevie. Like Stevie's there, like, oh, I'm gonna be mischievous. I'm gonna be sneaky Stevie. I'm gonna make plans, mango and papaya, and then just like to see him have this like real vulnerable moment with the person that he was like all episode 1 be like, I am going to plot your demise.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That's what I have,
really-
is seeing the full circle between that whole Stevie Shawnee from where it started episode 1 to now it looks like they'd be in lockstep with each other, which is
Well, and didn't
great
he
story.
make a joke as they broke up here, something about like I'm not going to get you this time or something. There's like, I didn't write the exact quote, but there was like some little like
there was
shit,
something like that.
There's like some little like laughing between them two, like, oh, now we're not going to get each other, but I'm still going to get you, kind of like some little like light jab.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I love them.
So
I do too.
From there we go to the Simon and Jordy conversation. And this is, if I am Jordy, I had been dreading this all night. I probably didn't sleep, just being like, I don't want to have to talk to him.
Oh, it was bad. It's just like, it's the breakup. It's the post-breakup chat.
Yep.
And no one wants to have that talk. No one ever wants to have that talk.
But the one thing that is nice from this is that, and we see it more in episode 9, is he talks about, when he went out for Blood versus Water, like he didn't necessarily have the best home life. He wasn't really looking forward to being there. But you get the story that, post Blood versus Water, he met Sam. They're engaged now. He found out a few weeks before that he's having a baby. Like it's this part 1 of a beautiful moment where we get the second part of it in the next episode.
Yeah.
Setting it up.
He's a like, I heard someone say it on a podcast, and I've now agreed after 3 weeks. I would be totally fine with Jordy being the next 3-time player. Yeah, I'm bought in on Jordy this season.
I am too. I'm a big fan. I like the way
everyone I talk to loves Jordy as well.
It's like his story is just so good. Like it's dynamic. It's like it wasn't him coming in. Like the promos made it look like he was just coming in to be the caricature of his first game. Like he's really been the opposite. Like he's been so much better. He's more nuanced in his game. He's trying to act smarter. And even though he's facing some speed bumps right now, facing some turbulence, I just feel like they're giving him this edit for a purpose.
No, it's not. And that's the thing. I can't stand it when people say, no, he's a dickhead, I've seen the edit or whatever. You can see Jordy is so humble. When he wins a challenge, I won one with him. He is the life of the party. He's so fun. He's genuine. Like he's the underdog. He's got that big, hard life story kind of thing going on. He comes out when he wins, and if he's done something, and you see him and he's like, my God, thank you. He's like so appreciative. He is a good guy. You don't jag Sam Frost if you're a dickhead,
Right.
But he pissed me off in my season, so I'm holding on to it. His brother pissed me off.
Of course.
I've got to let it go because he is a normal human being, and it was just a game. But
so you brought it up, obviously his fiance, Sam Frost. I do love that someone made the comment because, of the Frasers and a lot of the other newbies we haven't seen a lot. They're like, going by Edgic, Sam Frost has a better shot at winning this season than like 90% of the cast.
So true.
But then we have, we got to get the quote from Jordy. It's the Joker thrives on chaos. And I have in my notes, son of a bitch. But I do love this next scene where he's with Shawnee and Liz at the well, and they're kind of talking about, hey, and Shawnee even vocalizes here, like, I want to keep working with Jordy.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be important. My prediction, because I think a lot of people are expecting if this new villain tribe goes to tribal council, that it's like lights out for either like Liz or Simon or whatever. I truly believe a villain does not go home on that tribe. Like, I truly believe it. I feel like they're throwing stuff in there. Like, sure, Liz has only 2 confessionals. I feel like they still are setting her up as an important piece to the puzzle.
She's good. And she's teamed up with the king. Like, give us more. Like your sounds like.
Yeah, you're with the king and you're with Shawnee. Like, you literally are, like, great for your game.
I know.
Horrible for your screen time.
She must be doing something really good as well, because she's with them. Like when you go on there as a returnee, you're picking up the best of but you've got the skills to know who's got the best. So I don't know. We haven't had anything, and a few of them. I don't know.
Yeah. Can you guys imagine a world where what was her name? Lady that was it Tracy? No, Jackie. Where Jackie and Anjali don't go out, where it's still George and Jackie and Anjali as the alliance.
I can't.
As the Spice Girls.
I can't.
Oh God. All right.
So then, the last thing that we see is Shawnee
He
picks up
upgraded those two.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And on the way back to camp, we have Shawnee says she picked up the best piece of wood she ever has because there's the idol.
How lucky.
How funny is she?
And notice she didn't need a clue for it. It's like so funny that they gave you that clue when it's like
whose clue? You mean Simon's clue?
Yeah, the cookie clue, the Ben clue, which will spoilers. But it's literally like, oh, this is gonna help you find something. Looks at a coconut that has the same exact giant piece of crap on it. I don't need a clue to see that. Oh, there's something off about this.
Yep.
The one thing so there was a lot of talk, and I think we even mentioned, I may even said it last week, was that last week Shawnee, she was playing the best on the Villains tribe. Yep. And then obviously we have George, everything that he does this week. And I think there's too much arguments going on of who's better between the two when it's just, have we ever seen, forget them separate, but a duo like this? Like, depending upon how they keep moving through this game, this could be one of the best duos we've ever seen across all Survivor.
Way to produce us with zero. Don't give us anything on Shawnee and George's chat, or Shawnee, don't give us anything on George. Your name might be coming up. This queen just notices there's whispering, happens to find an idol, and then saves the Spice Girl. We got no foreplay. I didn't even get a bit of friction anywhere. Boom, she's in. Like it was that good.
Well, it wasn't her first rodeo.
And then just Ice's page with, it's not my first rodeo. The referencing to the farm girl, like what a boss.
It's like nothing phases this girl. Like she doesn't even watch the show. Like she's out living her best life on vacations everywhere. Like I think she's in Indonesia right now or wherever, or Bali. It's like she's living her life. But when she comes on to Survivor,
she plays.
This might be this might be the time to ask, what is her beret? What is it just silk, or is that like a brand in Australia that we don't know about?
Oh, yeah, her little hair clip.
Yeah,
it says silk. Is it just like
silk. I think it's a brand. I don't know. It's obviously something hoity-toity that some influencer gave her before she went on, and she's getting a plug for it. But the fact that it's not rusted yet, the diamonds are still on it.
I was to say, looks pretty good, and it's getting a lot of screen
time. And the tops, can we just, whilst we're just blowing smoke up her ass, the body, phenomenal, but we're wearing a glittered emerald green triangle that seems to be getting dry cleaned every night. I looked like I was dingo ate my baby kind of stuff out there.
Hey, maybe the Samoan water is doing them wonders.
I look at her and I'm like, is JRP's oil zhuzh putting a bit on Shawnee in the background? Like, Jesus.
I can see it.
Some days I came out and I was like, the producers' faces were so bad. I'm like, I'm jet black and it's dirt. It's not a tan, it's dirt. Like, sorry, guys.
Can you hear some water?
Use the sun cream, Chrissy.
Smear it or something.
I can't believe it. I hate her.
You hate her, but you love her.
And she's got my best friend wrapped around her finger. I hate this girl.
I think he's got her wrapped around his finger.
I think they have each other wrapped around each other's fingers.
I think it's a mutual
intertwining
wrapping.
Snake.
It's all these wraps.
Anaconda.
They're all wrapped.
Anaconda.
Oh, sorry, anaconda.
It's mango.
I didn't say to use the safe word yet.
The next thing we have is we go over to the hero camp, and Jerry woke up this morning and he chose violence. because he pretty much says,
Yo.
well, yeah, the villains know it's these three boys running the show, and just lays out the entire hierarchy.
So can we just
in front of everyone?
And what about everyone just like that?
But it's also just like, can we just these episodes? My God, maybe it's because the heroes have had to play ball for most of the pre-merge. These heroes are playing horribly. Like, how do you do big story time circle around Jerry and Sharni, and then the first thing that happens is Paige going, "So, you still gonna be hero strong, mate? Like, you're not gonna turn against us, right?"
That's right. I messed up my episode title. That episode title is for the next episode. Yeah. This one's Jerry Strong. That's what this one is. I wrote down that this episode for me is called Jerry Strong because he's like, I'm not hero strong. I'm Jerry Strong. I was like, hell yeah, Jerry. Hell yeah, you are, Jerry.
I just love him. Like, it's horrible gameplay. Should have been on the villain's tribe. But him just going at them all and just be like, Sam, wasn't it you who said you didn't mind losing me? And Sam just has to sit there and be like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. And like just having to take it all when he's like, yeah, so the three boys there on the top, and Matt, you're like their little apprentice. And then like it cascades down to the bottom where there's me, Ben, Sharni, Haley. Like he's like listing everything, and everyone's sitting there awkwardly because you get it with Sam and Professor's like,
they know it's true.
It is right.
Yeah.
From there, we kind of see this is where we get a little more of Ben. He says that he realizes he's in the minority, he's on the bottom, and then this is where he finds his little Simon clue.
Oh. It's the rice clue. Yeah. It does not look like rice or beans or whatever it was.
No.
Was that not in the villains didn't have rice and beans?
Well, they put it in the cookies.
Well, they put it. Right. I think they put it somewhere for both tribes at the same time, like somewhere they can find it. Gotcha. So for them, it was a reward, and then for the heroes camp, it was like, okay, they have the giant pot. We'll put it in the pot.
Gotcha.
And it's just like you open it up, he gets it, and at least Ben has this self-awareness. And I feel like once again, I'm like, stop digging on Simon here because it's like I don't know if this is an idol. There's no paper. There's nothing
it's
to
clearly
say. It's
not an idol. Yeah.
It must be a clue.
Yeah. And we see Ben that he walks by it, but to this point, he still hasn't found it.
Yep.
This will then take us into the immunity challenge, which should just be called, if you have Sharni on your team, you win.
Yep. My God. And this is also an issue of the heroes because they have so many people and there's so many people that have to sit out. Like you have Haley having to sit out because like Paige and Jerry and all of them like sat out the last challenge. And all I'm saying is I think we will have gotten another 2-hour runoff between Sharni and Liz if you had Haley and Sharni together. Because like Sharni was steady. Like this is a skinny
not according to
comp.
Paige.
Well,
yeah, but guys, hold up. Because when this all went down and Paige confessed that she was the strong one and the fittest one out of her and Sharni, I'm like, I've got rewind here, people. I need to check this out. Sharni dropped.
I will argue. So I will argue the footage does show that. I would also say that could either way. It doesn't matter who dropped. It's not like she was trying to throw it. There's this infatuation from a lot of newbie players where it's like, oh, I don't want to be the one who lost the physical challenge.
I get it.
Or I'll get voted at. But
move on.
Her leg was cramping up. So I think Paige was putting, I almost said Phoebe again. Paige put more pressure onto that block, which then is pushing it onto Sharni.
Yes.
To me, in my revisionist history is Sharni going, well, they are steady as a rock. We aren't going to win this, and Paige is hurting. Like being the person that she is, because I feel like she's probably more empathetic because her whole thing's like honor, integrity, loyalty.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
Like I should probably drop this so that Paige doesn't like legitimately get hurt.
Yeah, that's fair. That's not what it looked like, but that's
it's not what it looked like. But like I give Sharni some grace here, and maybe it's just because of how poorly Paige's edit is and how she just acts
And let's just milk poor old Shani. If this did happen, let's just milk it for the most footage she got for the whole damn season in the Rainbow Chat. Like, what a ripoff.
Yeah. So the only thing that we do have before the challenge starts, the villains are talking about tribal council, and would it be okay if we didn't have some more Simon and George? No, it would not. No. So Simon says George was being arrogant with an idol, and George blows up his spot saying that Simon still has an idol.
Not only that, he's like, so we did fight, and then there was an immunity challenge, and Simon won it while being the target, and then did not play his idol. Oh, yeah, he has an idol.
Oh, by the way, he's got an idol. Oh.
He was going to let Stevie go.
Yeah. So
it's even worse. It's even worse for Simon now that everybody thinks he has an idol and he doesn't have an idol. It's like, it's even worse. It's the worst. It is a death sentence unless you can convince him it's not an idol.
I mean, to be fair to him, and I listened to Shannon's, I think maybe they talked about it on Talking Tribal. I don't know. It was either Talking Tribal or she talked with like Nick Iadanza this week, and she was saying how the idol or like the clue gives you some leeway if you know it's a clue, in the fact that you can find the idol and then use this clue as like a fake idol, and like you could give it to someone and be like, hey, here's my trust, like I'm gonna give you this idol. Vote them out because they think like, oh, I got this, and they go to play it. This is in fact not an idol. What a moment. What a moment that'd be.
So we'll blow through this challenge, but it was, you do it in pairs, you keep up a box, and it becomes evident really quickly that Shawnee and Liz are going to win this, because I don't think Shawnee moves this entire challenge.
Her fate, like she was gone. Like she was not in her body. Like her physical, like her spiritual being was somewhere else entirely. Because you cannot be doing that and just being so calm. And she's like in the most quiet, like nurturing voice to Liz, be like, hold on, we got this.
Let's do it, Dan. Put your feet up to mine.
I don't think you want me doing this. It's not gonna go well.
Oh no, don't show your feet on the podcast.
Yeah, you can't put your feet on the internet. Come on, Chrissy.
It's there forever now.
This is on my moon boot. Oh my God. Okay, so this happens. Yoga strength comes through.
Pilates, baby.
I do want to.
Yeah, Wayne.
Oh, I just want to say, like, after I thought we were going on after this. We get a little bit of Nina. We do get to see that Nina is in fact a person on this show. After this challenge is over, she is here. She is playing. She is talking to people.
And I fully believe that's the case. Like, I think probably her space on the dynamics is like she is in the majority group, but like on the periphery. Like she's actively choosing to play in the like. Not in the middle, but like spreading out. Because like you see, maybe she's not in like the main group, but like she's the one who constantly goes to Shari and be like, "Hey, this is what people are saying. I could go a different way." Like she's putting her options out there. I hate always having to compare her to her mother because she's her own person, but like it gives me Sandra vibes of like, I'm gonna lay low in the beginning. It's anybody but me. As long as I have good relationships with people.
Still my pick, so I'm hoping she's coming from somewhere.
Right.
I mean,
I would say
bringing up Sharni, we really only see Nina as the only person that really talks to her outside of Jerry from what we've shown on screen.
Yeah.
Well, and I just think that of all the people that haven't been given really any screen time, I think Nina's the one that is the most likely to be on purpose because she's going to get a lot of screen time in a couple of episodes. Like maybe not next week, but maybe the week after that. It's like the Nina show after that. That's kind of what I'm hoping, but
she was my winner pick preseason. So really banking on that.
Yeah. Well, these two episodes unfortunately are not the Nina show, but they are the Paige show because guys, she needs to let everybody know. I didn't drop. It was not my fault.
She starts saying it before they leave the challenge, and then we get back after commercial, and that's all we get. And at least Flick finally says
there's like
it doesn't
three
matter
different
who dropped it.
There's like 3 different people who all go into
What's
professional or at
that?
tribal. Like, it does not matter who dropped. We could care less.
No, but it's what you said before, Alex. It was me, Ep 2, when Brianna was saying I was the weakest. You don't want anyone to think that you're the weakest, because then they go, who are we going to vote for? You know what?
Yeah.
We're kind of getting a bit tight here. Let's go with who was the shittest in the challenge. Like, you can see Paige is thinking, they're all going to blame me. I'm going to get, because she hasn't got enough relationships with anyone.
Which is weird because, like, the impression that we have is she's very good with the boys. She's very good with the girls.
With David, yeah.
Yeah, it's like literally the only people she's
And
not
Maddie.
good with are Sharni and the people on the bottom. Chrissy said that she may cut off, so she'll be back.
Yeah, she said it was going through an update, so she'll be back. Sorry once again, folks, for a little bit of technical issues, but we're giving you some great stuff here, so it's all right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So from this, we're going, we have all we see is Paige spouting off. We don't need to read my notes because those don't need to go out to the public. But with the meat tray, they want to target Ben. So the play is, let's target Ben, and then we'll go to our old reliable and throw some votes on Jerry, because
leave Jerry alone challenge.
Alone.
How about that, boys?
Yep.
Yo.
Yeah. And then so Ben does go. He does find the idol. Of all people, Matt's the one who notices that he's reading something, and so he lets everyone else know. And at this point, we don't need to get through the rest of kind of what happened. What I think is more interesting to talk about is what is Ben's play here, because Ben wants to make this big move with the idol, but it essentially is,
What is it?
I'm going to take it off of Jerry and still get no equity anywhere else.
So
Right.
I think originally his hope was that he would get enough people to vote so that he wouldn't need to use his idol. So and the only person he had as an avenue was Sharni, because I know a lot of people gave Ben flack of like, why did you target someone who's also on the bottom? He went on social media and said it's obviously there's a little more nuance to that, and he did attempt to try to gather the bottom, and it just wasn't going to work out because.
Right.
And the issue is, sure, the perception is they're on the bottom, but Haley has a relationship with Flick, Nina, and Sean, and through that, David and Sam. Sharni is this very mateship style player, and I think the boys respected that. So while she recognizes she's not on the top totem pole, she's going to be loyal to this group. So you can't really gain Sharni. Paige is just a little chihuahua attached to the boys' hips. You're not going to get Paige. So at that point, it's just, I just need it to not be me. And Jerry goes in, I'm assured to be the number one.
Right.
So get rid of a different person. And Paige gave him that opportunity to twist the words a little more, make it a little more lies, but enough to make the girls trust him enough to vote with him.
Yeah.
Still has to use his idol. But for him at that exact moment, it was the play that he needed to do in order to survive.
Well, and also in Survivor, you got to kind of imagine. I mean, I think the way that George and some of the best players play is idols are infinite. You use one, you got to find another one. We know that they come back into the game in some way, shape, or form. You're not always guaranteed to find another one, but you really got to assume idols are infinite. That's kind of how you got to play it. They're all, so.
Yeah, it's it ends up being pretty straightforward. Ben plays his idol. You get up, you have more of the whispering at Tribal Council. And the whispering is going to become more of a bigger topic in next episode. Chrissy, was there a lot of whispering like this going on?
Nothing.
I don't remember
like this.
seeing too much.
Absolutely not. Because don't forget, I didn't know we were allowed to. We were never told that you're not allowed to. No one just did it. We were all too scared to get yelled at. So when we finally work out, Sam stood up and a couple of others stood up, I was like, thank God I never needed to stand up because I knew I was never going home. But when I'm watching this now, it blows my mind what what you can actually do and what can change in a night, what you think's going to happen. I mean, who was the one we talked about it last week? Who was the complete change? Who was it again?
Mimi, when Mimi went.
Mimi.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Stevie,
That would've
and
never happened
Fraser
before.
in his exit did confirm the vote was
Crazy.
Stevie until like Mimi wasn't giving like good answers at tribals, so they all flipped it onto Mimi instead.
Crazy to me. Oh.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's all that we really have is, you know, Ben gets up and it flips the votes from Jerry to Sharni.
Right. And you know what? Good that Jerry got no votes.
Go ahead, Chrissy.
No, I was just going to say, like, I feel really sorry for anyone that was involved with or played a part in episode 8 because people were still shook to the call for 7 and still remembering things that happened in 7. Like, when you guys were like, we got 9, I'm like, what happened in 8?
The only
Still
note
thinking about 7.
The only note that I have in 8, you know, as we're getting ready to move forward is, I don't know if you guys noticed, but it made me laugh, is Maddie's finally starting to get a few confessionals, but if you'll notice, he's almost never sitting on screen with it. It's always as something else is going on in the background.
Yeah.
Oh.
Poor little Maddie.
Now it's time. Sharni goes. Sharni was a loyal player. Loyal, you know, good job for being loyal. That's not for what Survivor is. Someone tells Sam Webb that, please, for the love of God, because apparently he told people that he was going to play like a villain this year, and then comes back and immediately plays like how he did in his first go around. But this gets us to, I don't think God likes Paige.
Yeah. And so this gets us to, we're starting off right away with the auction. And not to jump ahead because we're going to cover it all, but George gets the guest of honor. But if you want your balls to be treated like the guest of honor, check out a word from our sponsor.
Support for Reality After Show is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. That's right, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SURVIVOR at manscaped.com. If my math's correct, that's about 12 million balls.
The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, is it a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies.
First off, the Lawnmower 4.0, this trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever.
Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to help reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and has a 4000K LED spotlight that you need for a more precise shave.
Now, I have a dark shower curtain in my bathroom, and I've been looking for the perfect way to shave in the dark, kinda. Guess what? I found it! 4000K LED! No longer a problem. I got perfectly smooth, clean balls thanks to the Lawnmower 4.0.
It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code SURVIVOR. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code SURVIVOR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Thanks for sticking with us through the ad break. And don't forget, for more exclusive Reality After Show coverage, visit realitypatron.com. That's reality, Patron.com.
And we are back. Before we jump into episode 9 of Australian Survivor, we have the U.S. Survivor coming up in 2 weeks. And if you want to watch Survivor with Johnny Fairplay and the Queen, Sandra Diaz-Twine, he is going on his viewing party tour like he does every year. On March 1st, he's going to be in New York City. In March 15th, he's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. On March 22nd, he will be with Wayne and Matt Bischoff in Cincinnati, Ohio. March 29th, he will be in Boston, Massachusetts. May 3rd, Durham, North Carolina, where they're also going to be having a new release of a beer called Villains Are Us. On May 17th, he's going to be in Charlottesville, Virginia. And then on May 24th, for the finale, he will be in my hometown in Charlotte, North Carolina. You can get all those at survivortix.com. That's survivortix.com. Come watch it live with Johnny Fairplay, Sandra Diaz-Twine, the Queen, and many other special guests. And Stevie will be with us. Yes.
In spirit.
Guys, I feel like I'm Fairplay's either PA or mistress, because people are sliding in and they're like, tell us the truth. Where is he? Is he with you in Australia? What show? Where's he at? They must be desperate to have you on there. And I'm like, you guys are so harsh.
Desperate. You're like top choice.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a better choice to have on this show. You're amazing. You're definitely not desperate to have you, Chrissy. This is
It was my idea, just for the record. When I knew Johnny was going to be missing the first couple, I was like, we should have Chrissy on for like the first episode or two. And I was next to him when he called you, and he's just like, do you want to do all season? And you're like, yeah,
sure.
I'd snuck into Woolworths, which is like our massive food store, with no bra on, and I think I had one shoe. I couldn't find my Balenciaga, so I just cruised in with one shoe. And he FaceTimed me on Instagram, and I was like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but I am in.
And the world is better off for it.
Yep, my world is definitely better for it.
I heard Johnny was off saving the whales with Greenpeace, but there's a few other whispers out there if you really want to know.
Yeah,
he's working with Rogue to save some animals or something.
Let's get some chat. Anyone who's watching this, tell us where you think he is, because if you ask me, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I just heard he was giving his line a go, but Johnny did not recommend.
I heard you might be going bananas somewhere.
Ooh.
Don't worry, he will be back a few weeks. He'll be. I'll say.
Hopefully, is he going to be back for the big dinner?
He should be, because I know. Yeah. So that first, if you're looking for a timeline, Johnny is having that viewing party March 1st. So I'd expect him back at the very worst by then.
Okay.
February 28th. Yep.
All right, let's smash. Come on, this is half decent.
Yeah. So we have it. We're not messing around to start this episode. There's no preamble.
No.
We're just going straight in, and we see it. I ask every year, why can we not have this back on U.S. Survivor? Only
because
Australia
they gamed the
will do
system.
it. Yeah, but it's the auction, because who doesn't love the auction?
And not only an auction. First thing up for grabs for everybody. Drop your buffs.
It's that good.
Well, I will say before the drop the buffs here, I'll let you go in a second, Wayne, is that you do get a recap from David. And so we've mentioned him twice this podcast now. And I was like, that's what he sounds like.
Yeah, I know.
And what did I tell you? It's very athlete speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's given he is given pressers. If episode 7 was the best tribal, this is the best Survivor auction I've ever seen. And that starts with this drop your buffs. Come on. How amazing is that? It's so good.
But then you're surely going to be thinking that's it. Like, it's just, I don't know American Survivor, but Australia is punching. Like, we're giving you 3 of our season in one episode. Like, you guys must be a mess.
No, like we currently don't have swaps anymore. We haven't had the auction in a long time because they think players have gamed the system, which a little bit true, but that can change. Like if you cast people that are willing to play ball, you can have these moments. But you know what? We're talking about Australia here. We're talking about Australia. And I love the fact that they do this to you. They swap up the tribes and they're like, well, here's group money. Let's spend stuff with people that you don't know.
That is my postman's here. Keep going.
So we'll break it down. I do love that the first person that they go is Nina, that we're shown, and she pulls, let's brace some of your mother's roots here, and pulls that villain's buff. But as it all breaks down on the new hero tribe, we have Ben, Jerry, George, Shawnee, Maddie, Stevie, Flick, and Paige.
The strong tribe.
Yeah.
Stack tribe. The super strong tribe.
Yeah. On the villain tribe, the Beefcake tribe, we have Nina, Sam, Liz, David, Sean, Simon, Haley, and Jordy. And
So,
was
like,
there?
They're all right.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest. Not only are all of the strongest men on this tribe, but also literally an Olympian woman is on this tribe. Like, Nina is the weakest member of this tribe, and Nina is not a weak survivor player at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
You're right. But I love they go to George. How do you feel these teams stack up? He's like, I'm okay with the Mitre being over there. Meatheads don't win this game of Survivor.
Amazing.
He just like, he has the audacity just like that. He doesn't care. Like, it's his character. Like, it's on brand for him to make a statement like that.
Yeah.
No, it's the two best lines. It's George says that in front of everyone, but when Shawnee picks it and realize she's happy she's with George, but upset she's not with Liz, and she says she's distressed and depressed.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is like the worst. This is a crime against humanity.
And so this gets us into, well, I guess before we do it, is there any pairings, anything that you're interested in looking at over these next few episodes with some of the new tribe dynamics?
I need the Mitre to take a hit for the love of God.
I'm excited to see. I think that Simon jumping on might be a way for Sean to jump over with Nina and gain an alliance with Liz. I'm hoping that the preview of this episode is a red herring and that Liz is actually like part of the strong and not the actual target to get out.
So
then brings Sean closer to George.
I also feel, just because my belief with how they've been marketing these episodes, if like a big name was going home, they would be trying to create more fanfare over it. Where the fanfare that they're doing is, we're finally gonna find out what is Simon's quote unquote idol. And King George and Shawnee are the kingpins of their tribe. Like, that's why I was like, at first I was thinking maybe this is where Haley goes. But I feel like there would be more fanfare over.
I think the fact that we haven't seen Haley's name mentioned shows of how little it was really considered in those first few tribals. But Chrissy, you are back. The one thing, sorry.
Delivery. Sorry.
The one thing I wanted to ask you is, because we do see on the new villain tribe that Jordy and Nina, they're there together. What was their relationship like? Because you started on the same tribe as
I told you, Nina was the queen. I thought I was in everyone's pockets. Everyone loved her because they're blinded by mum.
Mm-hmm.
If you were close to Nina, you had some sort of 7 degrees of separation or whatever that saying is to Sandra. So I think they played red for a while together. And Nina's very, very loved. So there's no way in God's name that her and Geordie aren't ready to hustle.
Oh, also, brief sidetrack. Chrissy, are you surprised that Jonathan has not reduced these tribe names to yellow and purple yet?
I don't understand how.
Like, heroes and villains is longer words than blood and water.
I mean, but they did the same thing on George's first season. It was still the new Brain tribe and the new Brawn tribe. And
I wonder what they get. I don't know what this will be. It feels like Brawn. It feels like we could reuse those 2 names.
That's what Rogue said.
So we get into the auction. Each tribe gets $2,500 with $500 max bid.
Wild.
And also love that immediately George and the team goes, okay, that means we each get $320 or whatever it was. It's like, that's our bid.
There's our beautiful mind.
Yeah. So our first item, cheeseburger and fries. And I was surprised that only 2 people were bidding at that. If that's really how it started out.
Well, it's also not the beer. I mean, the beer.
Well, and the beer, that's what Jerry wanted.
Jerry wants that beer.
I would be bidding heavy for the beer at this point in time.
I don't know. I feel like I would have trust issues with any food items that they give us because of the frozen
given.
pizzas.
Exactly. I was thinking babe, I would be so good if I went back. I've learned a lot.
Me
As
and
soon
Chrissy
as I
would be
saw-
on lock. We'd be on a tribe, and they're
We would
offering
be on
rewards,
the
and
same
we'd be
tribe,
like, "Are these cooked?"
As soon as I saw the hamburger, I'm like, it's Play-Doh. I'm like, it's not real.
No, I'm gonna take a bite. It's rock hard. I'm like, "You didn't cook it? No,
Yeah.
you gotta cook it
No.
yourself."
Chrissy's going to be back. Oh, she left. Never mind. We'll have to save the punchline for later because I know she'd appreciate it. But the second item remains covered. This one goes to Sam for $360. You know, screw everyone else. Seems right for Sam. And it is for a bar of chocolate.
A big bar of chocolate.
Big bar
A
of chocolate.
gross looking bar of chocolate. Can we be honest? That is too much chocolate. That is way too much.
It looks
chocolate.
like we bought this at the airport.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not meant to be good. It's just meant to fill you up.
It's meant to be from an airport. Yeah.
I bet it's like also like not. It definitely isn't milk chocolate. It's like this malt, bitter, dark chocolate. Like
Also, where'd they find a perfect chocolate square like that? I've never seen I've never seen chocolate presented like that before, ever.
It's too
And
fake.
now that Chrissy is back, I was getting ready to set up my joke. It may not do as much anymore, but you were talking about you coming back, and it was like, if Fraser comes back, the two of you can be together and you can carry him around and, you know, do a little.
I can be his mommy. I can be
He's
his
your little
mommy.
Joey. He could be your little Joey.
I'm not going to say anything because I'm a very, very, very big fan of him so far, the little Fraser.
Yeah.
But let's we don't need to circle back to that if Chrissy comes back.
it's going to happen. They love to bring their returnees back. They have to compete.
After watching this, I'd have to put George in my backpack and he can just sit there and tell me what to do.
Here's the deal.
Hey,
I'm
we
all
have to
for that.
compete. We have to compete against Married at First Sight Australia, and the numbers are going up because they have good returnees coming in. Bring Chrissy back.
Maybe.
Or come over to American or come over and just dominate American Survivor.
It's half the time.
This is where I'm at, Wayne, because Australia's already seen me. They're like, nah, she's a pussy. If I come over there, I would just unleash the beast.
Just dominate. You would just dominate. It would. Oh God, that'd be so fun.
Okay,
Yes, producers, I know you're watching. Please
Come
make
on.
it happen. Please, for the love of God, make it happen.
Please.
Okay, let's get through these
okay.
rewards now.
The next
All right.
the next reward I actually do love because it's this scroll, and I love because
Yes.
normally when you see a scroll, you're thinking advantage idol, and the
Jonathan,
fact that they pulled one
scroll
over here, fantastic. Ben gets it, $400. It is a voucher
Onion.
for an onion.
I
A
love it.
brown onion.
A brown onion. I love it. I love it so
And he
much.
eats it.
I
So-
would.
I know you wouldn't be able to get like they don't get away with it, but I would have tried sneaking it back to camp to use in the cooking.
You can. He could have taken that back to camp. That would have lasted weeks for the rice.
Right, like that was my first thing. Like, oh, I'm not taking a bite out of this now, like an idiot. I'm gonna chop it up, put it in
I
the
think
rice,
he was desperate.
give us
just to
something,
throw
and
it
like
up.
get some goodwill. Because look, I'm using my reward
Yes.
to help make our
There's a
food taste better.
$400 flavor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$400. Oh,
The
it's
one
expensive.
thing
Vintage.
The one thing we do see here is that when Ben is up doing that, Paige tells George that he needs to be the next to go. Let's see, next one, spaghetti and red wine.
Oh,
Sean just
God.
says all in 500.
Well, he was already in at the spaghetti, and they're like, wait, red wine. Oh, I'm in.
Wasn't even
But
a
also,
question, was it?
I'll say this for Sean, who is out there expending a ton of calories, keeping his tribes going because he's doing a lot of the extra hard work. It would be fair for him to get this giant carb meal with meat and wine, and it's like, yeah, spend the money.
Nice.
Right. And
If you're gonna win us the next 2 immunity challenge, eat that fucking spaghetti,
Right.
Sean.
It's the same exact thing for Flick and why she doesn't get flack for using all that money for the tacos.
Which
Right.
is the next one, which they're described as the biggest.
How did you steal Webby's chocolate?
Wine.
Oh my God.
Chrissy found the chocolate from the auction.
It's just how
That is
Australians
a
eat
break
chocolate.
down.
That's amazing.
Yeah. They're really easy to find.
Oh my god, it's not America. We just get ones that look like poo. We just
Yeah.
get giant poo shaped vlogs
Oh
of
my
chocolate.
Oh man.
Go
And
back.
then back, we do have a heartwarming moment here. It's the video call from home. And I do love this back and forth between Matt and Jordy because they both have kids
That
on the way.
I
But
was
they're-
howling. And for
Yeah.
Matt, guys, this kid, I've met him a few times. I'm freaking obsessed and I'm devastated that he's getting no airtime.
Yeah.
He genuinely was like, because you can see it in the episode, but this is him in real life. He's the happiest little baby. And he's like, nah, dude, mine's healthy. Check the health of yours. Because Jordy still didn't know what baby's got
Right.
at 12 weeks.
No.
Oh!
Broke my heart. Just an amazing Survivor moment in a thing that we all love, which is this Survivor auction. You know, like it's just between the two tribes, you know, like gaming the system or whatever, but they like discussed it. And
I was hopeful that they were going to do a U.S. Survivor thing where
They let Matt do
potentially
it
they were
too.
going to, like, for the same amount of money, Matt could have gotten his call too. But you know what? Australians more savage and like, no, we're going to make you feel heartbroken that you don't
We're
get to
savage.
talk to your pregnant
But see
wife.
Jordy again. See Jordy like, are you serious, bro? I don't want you to do this. You've got to think of yourself.
He's so good.
Like, he is selfless like that.
And like he immediately dropped it. And he was just like, no. Let him talk to like I understand. Like I would love to talk to her, but he has a child too. There's no he made the bid first. Let him have it.
Yeah.
I also love that he's talking to Sam and Sam's like, so how's everything going? And after what has transpired the last two episodes, Jordy has to pause and be like, oh no, everything's fun. Everything's great. Having a great time.
Flying from the fans.
Yeah. We find out that Jordy is having a baby boy, and what makes it even better, the little pair of denim overalls.
Yes. Oh my God. Amazing moment.
Great TV.
Yeah.
Sam, she's a big person in Australia.
Yes, babe.
Well, she was she was like the Bachelorette.
No, she's on a TV. Well, she was on a TV show that if you haven't watched it or you didn't watch it as a kid, you're not Australian.
Gotcha.
And I
she
mean,
was
like
the sweetheart of the show too. So
Well,
Jordy
and you were
won. Jordy.
you were
Jordy.
you were talking like episode, maybe even the cast assessment. You're like Jordy already won. And it's like, yeah,
Jordy's won
she's
Survivor. Yeah.
as Johnny loves to say, he outkicked his coverage.
he outkicked everyone's coverage. God damn.
It doesn't matter. He's going home to her, and goddamn, she's one little sweetheart too. So they'll live happily ever after. But you have got me thinking with the third time returnee, because I don't even feel like Jordy's in this, because I knew he knew. I don't think he's in this hard as he could be because he's so distracted. Not now, obviously when it was filming.
Right.
This is a very interesting / exciting prospect, but I don't think for 1 second Jordy will do Survivor again. I don't think he needs to.
You think he's done?
Well, I just think he got a baby with the love of his life. Like, if he's chasing shit, he doesn't need to chase anymore.
Right.
He might.
And I would imagine if she's on a TV show that every Australian has for sure watched, they're probably doing pretty well. He probably doesn't need the
I think they're going to. Oh, no, they're really humble. Like, they camp and they do all this weird, bloody in the bush camping stuff. Like, they're really grounded and humble and home. And they've got about 1,100 dogs. So whatever they're doing is their thing. They've just launched that Flow State brand for their clothing. You would have seen it on the gram. So, if you asked me about people who are desperate to go back and want to take Shawnee's title now, most played game, whatever, the little brother would have a crack.
Yes.
He's savage.
Well, he was stitched up, so needs some redemption.
Jordy didn't mention that last season.
Are you sure?
Okay.
What about this chocolate? I was just taking the piss when I bought that, and it is heaven.
Listen, we might not have the best analysis, but we have the best props on this Survivor podcast. So I will say this.
No, we have both. We have great coverage. We have entertainment. We have technical difficulties. We have
my
it
bad.
all.
No,
I
you're
knew
completely
today was
fine.
going to be bad. Last week I gave you the stars of the show. This week I'm giving you my mailman that's delivering stuff that I've got to hide from my husband.
Okay. So
And the last item up for auction remains covered. George gets it for $320, and
thank
George is
God outbidding Paige.
the guest of honor. He gets to pick two people to go on a Survivor surprise party
With lots of
And
surprises.
Lots of surprises.
I love that was the writing. It was, you're going on a surprise party with lots of surprises. I'm like, and I think it's there with the terminology where it is 100% in his right to bring his actual alliance with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he brings Shawnee and Liz, reunion for the Spice Girls before they split back up. We go to, this surprise party, and George making a nice little payday, getting $5,000 a month for the next year.
But wait, back to the choice real quick. Are we sure it wasn't right to not bring someone like Jerry and or Stevie along?
Yes.
No, I'm with you.
I
Before we knew it was an idol. Now,
No,
knowing that there's an idol there.
Even before then, as soon as Paige gives him information, and George and Shawnee aren't dumb, like they understand the situation that they're in. I believe that they believe that Jerry is so betrayed by the heroes, he will come, or at least George believes that Jerry will come to him, because Shawnee doesn't have that confidence. We see her say that in confessional. You can't bring Ben, because you need to pretend to be good with Paige, and you can't bring. And if you don't bring Ben, you might as well not bring Paige either.
Right.
So I think all of it comes down to.
And you're not bringing a beefcake.
Yeah, and because George's game is just so wide open, it's obvious that there are three. You just bring your three.
Yep.
At that point, I want to have fun with my friends at this surprise party.
That's the winning thing. By now, and this is why I honestly think I'm on this damn podcast. I'll give you the insight stuff. Georgie would have been like, I've got to just really lock these two down. I'm going to really reiterate my loyalty to them. I don't really need too much else from over there, from anyone there, because I'm dominating them anyway. Not going to get anything from them. And I think in George's mind, unless what he is going to give up is more than what he can get back, he's not doing it. Like, he's taking the most he can get from it. So by taking those two, he just really, solidified their thing. But the main thing that I was going to say was, I did it. By this time in the game, whether you're still knee deep in it, you're a bit bored, you're exhausted. Like, I took Josh and Mark and everyone smashed me. Like, you should have seen the girls' faces, Sammy and KJ. They were livid because I could have built other relationships, but I wanted to play with them. Like, I wanted to go have fun with them because it's so intense when you're in camp.
Right.
I reckon Georgie just did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they do that. George, finds out he's getting a nice little payday regardless of how the show ends out. And then the other big thing is Shawnee finds her second idol.
Stop. Do you love how there was never for 1 second, because can you imagine me? How are we going to get it without them knowing? Like, these three are tight. She just pulls it out in front of them. She didn't even think. She didn't even think, do I need to hide that?
Well, she already has her hidden one.
She does have one hidden.
Still, Sandra said it. You never tell a soul. It's the only rule.
Yeah.
I think, results-oriented logic, it's fine because she uses it immediately.
Okay.
And I think in this situation, it's fine because they have played together long enough to know that the three of them are tight and not really going to have any path where they can betray each other without damaging their own game.
Yep.
And I think it's a powerful way to have trust more specifically because of the fact that Liz is on the other side.
Yep.
And so at the time, you're like, well, if I can get away with keeping it, if you guys lose, I will hand you the idol. You save yourself, send whoever you want home.
Touch point.
Yeah.
I think that to amend Sandra's rule is you don't tell anybody about your first idol. You can tell people about your second idol if you have a secret first one that nobody knows about.
Or if you're Simon.
Oh, my boy. Good Lord.
Sorry, didn't mean to. It was just laying there. But so then we go back to Hero Beach. And who doesn't love a good dictator? Because there's Dictator Paige coming out saying, do this, do that.
This was wild.
If I'm on like going to a new camp, I can understand some people like very calmly saying like, hey, you know, like welcome to our camp. Like, just so you know, like these were the things that we were doing. Like it's all about tone. How do you give this? It's not okay, guys, we gotta go make fire, go get the wood. I'm gonna start chopping the rice because apparently rice needs chopping. It's like sending all these orders, and even like Flick and Maddie are just like, okay, like calm down a little bit, girl. And I think this is a little bit of like, oh, all the men are gone. I have to be like the vocal leader of the heroes now, which goddamn, that I feel bad.
It's a rookie country girl error. Not reading the room, went the wrong way. There's a mama bear always, but she's got to be nurturing. Like even just saying, anyway, no one's going to bludge. You all need to get this done because I'm the chef and I've got to cook for you all. Like it was so, whether it was the edit or not, it was still words she said, and it was so piercing. I was like, oh, you got to go.
Yeah, it was grating.
Speaking of words she said, because then she goes on to be like, Ben twisted my words. And I have in my notes, bitch, it's what you told him this. Like,
we don't need the bit.
We didn't. I apologize for that. But like, no, he used the words that you told him.
Like he may have added some more to it, but the premise is all the same.
Right.
Yeah. So then we go over to the Villains Beach, and I just have so much beef because, you know, Simon's talking about this is the most stacked tribe in Survivor history.
Y'all
matter.
You know what?
Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Not at all. Not at all.
So I get it from him being like, I want to ingratiate with them and like him and Jory sort of have the same premise of like doing that to like boost the heroes' egos or the meat trays' egos. And Simon thinks of it as like, oh, like I can be another meat shield for them. Like I like we're strength in numbers. There's no reason for me to get taken out, but there is reason for him to be taken out. If you're someone like Sean, it's like I don't need every single strong person. I can't have him ingratiating with the other guys.
No, because if you looked at it right now and you were just going to do, if they broke it down as simple as like a tug of war, Sean may be able to beat the Heroes tribe by himself.
Oh, yeah.
Solo.
Oh, can we also brief
maybe with Liz.
Yeah. Brief moment where he's talking to Sam about like, I idolized you. Like I've watched all the seasons, and the first thing Sam goes is like, oh, you're a fan. Like you watched the show, huh? And I'm like, this explains so much. And I also think at that moment, that's Sam being like, okay, he's another. He's a nerd. He watches the show.
But if you
already passed, did we already pass over Jordy?
No,
that's where I was about to go. I said, if you want a fun moment, you have Jordy be like, oh, Sean, show me how you cut off the sleeves of your shirt.
Oh, like this with this knife?
It looks so good when you do it.
And then Jordy just schooling them all, you know, like, this is some of my best work. You bastards.
Amazing. It's so amazing.
I just love him
standing there.
He's just in confessional, like, describing his conversation. They'd be like, oh, yeah, footy, right? Oh, Yeah.
footy.
So
And
good.
David's like,
So
oh
good.
yeah, footy. I love footy. I'm a footy.
I'll talk
He's
about
like,
footy.
footy.
Oh, I'm
footy.
actually a stay-at-home. I'm a stay-at-home dad now. It's like, oh, cool. And he's just like, oh my god. And I love the irony of him being like, ugh, all like these dominant male person that like the jocks. I have to ingratiate with them. I don't want to though. And everyone's like, but what did you do last season, buddy?
Who did you work with?
Who did you work with?
Yeah.
And once again, it just shows like I know I need to change my game. But for now, you have to be the puppy with the tail between their legs, just like do whatever I need to do to survive, ingratiate, make them believe in me, make them trust me.
Yeah.
Deal with it at the merge.
Yep.
And we'll jump right into the immunity challenge. Immunity challenge, one member is locked in a cage, transported through a tunnel. Then you have to go under a heavy gate, go take it up the slide, down the water trap, and then once they're free, 2 will attempt to solve a puzzle.
Okay. So question here, because like Cliff Notes. New hero tribe does not do well, loses. Do you think Ben should have been part of the puzzle from the get-go? Because he was very good on the one that he did with Nina earlier in the season. Yeah. But at the same time, it was like George, I think, also in his head's like, but when Stevie started talking with me with the other puzzle, when I thought we weren't going to work together, we worked well together.
Well,
so like,
you could see that when they were talking about the puzzle, like Ben's face lit up and George was immediately like, me and Stevie will do it.
Yep.
But I think it's also like, it's your first time at a new tribe. You think, okay, like George, Stevie, like we've worked on puzzles together. Like maybe we'll just have more chemistry because we don't know how we work with Ben. Like,
and also a thing needs to be said here. If you're George and Shawnee, are you trying to take lead? And I don't think it was like on purpose or anything, but are you trying to lose this challenge? Like, obviously you don't need to try to lose against the team that you're facing, but are you trying to make sure that you lose so that Liz stays safe?
I don't think
at this point, I don't think they're in a good. I don't think they know they're in a good enough spot.
Neither.
But I also feel like George feels like he's confident enough that whatever he can get done, he can get done.
I
don't think they threw it. It's just something in my head that I was like, it would make sense to if you believe that you can pull something off on your end.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think it was just because, yes, maybe if Ben's there, they do a little bit better. But the villains tribe had such a big lead. And I mean, Nina and Haley, like they're no slouches at puzzles. Like they're probably always going to win that.
Right. It's just, again, this is like the puzzle doesn't seem as weighty as it should. Like these puzzles don't seem very weighty. So it's like whoever gets through the physical part is such a lead that like both teams are going to take the same amount of time to do these puzzles because they're not very difficult.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So it's just like, if you don't have Sean, and an AFL player, and also Simon, who's like the third or fourth strongest person on his tribe,
and 3 more big men. Like,
it's like you're just not. I mean, two of them could have lifted that cage probably through that thing. Meanwhile, it takes the entire tribe to do it. So just I don't think.
And then of course they're turning up to the puzzle exhausted. Like
right.
I'll just reiterate that's hardwood.
Right.
It's not light.
Like no.
And I'm strong. Like I know how heavy that stuff is. That yellow team are little.
Yeah. When Jordy's like your 5th biggest person, like when I feel like normally he would be like your 2nd, you have such a big advantage. Yeah. Yep. So you get it. The new villains tribe wins. And as they're going, we do get, I can't believe it. We're bringing up David for a 3rd time. He does tell Paige, don't trust George. He's a liar.
Duh.
That was a cute little thing that happened there. It did reiterate how close she is to the boys. She just cooked herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So we go back to Hero Beach, and another reason to not like Paige, so I don't mean to keep, I don't care, I'll keep piling on her, is the fact that Stevie, he's trying to apologize, and Paige cuts him off mid-apology. Like, no, wait for everyone. Like, just let Stevie talk. Leave Stevie alone.
Here's what we'll say is that We love this show. We love everybody on this show. And the edit of Paige painted her to be not a very good person this episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is a shocker.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is interesting because like even knowing like the stuff from her, it's like, oh, they still was getting a positive light, and then this week they're like, bam, let's make her evil.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you
Hard
have
to watch.
you have the whole conversation where they're trying to tell Shawnee and George that, oh, it's gonna be Ben.
Oh.
But you know, they're not sure. And then this is where we have the great conversation. Wayne, I'll let you hit the punchline or whatever. Shawnee goes, think about what God would want.
Macedonian Jesus.
I don't think God likes Paige.
And then you get, I love that line. It's such a good line. It gets us into the plan. And the plan through George's narration is like, well, we're not going to send Ben out. We're not going to give them what they want.
Yep.
So we're going to do Paige. It's me. It's Shawnee. Then we have Old Spice. And you know what? We have Steve. 5 Spice.
5 Spice, baby.
I'm obsessed with this Spice Girls.
Best.
And this is why you don't make an alliance thing that involves numbers, because you could just keep adding people.
Yep.
Oh, God.
A classic case of Georgie boy rounding out the numbers, single-handedly dictating who's in whose gang as the non-social player of this game itself.
And maybe
5 Spice.
And maybe Paige doesn't go home if she decides to just stick to her guns and go after Ben instead of doing the hugs and having the men tell her, go get George. You can't trust George.
Yep.
Take him out.
So true.
Yeah.
And really that's the whole talk of heading into tribal. It's just like people going around, and then the other main piece is
the fight for Jerry.
The fight
Where's
for
Jerry
Jerry.
gonna vote?
It is.
While he sits in his chair.
While he's in his
Because-
chair resting like an old geezer.
Oh, I love that. And he's like, well, that's what old geezers do. We sit.
Yep.
But like, make it more obvious that you're trying to make a plan that doesn't involve Shawnee. Like, if the vote's just Ben, why are all 4 of you pulling him aside? Mm-hmm.
Right.
And like, so we'll get to tribal. You know, we're going pretty long.
We're finished.
Cover it all, but you know, we'll finish up here soon. And so the immediate talk is all about old tribal lines, like where's it all going to go? And I don't understand how they could think that they still have Jerry when Jerry says right there, or whatever, like trust takes forever to build, but can be destroyed in a second.
Well, you keep getting the facials of Paige going.
Yeah.
It's like her face is like an eternal cringe. This tribal, unfortunately.
Oh, this tribal, her poor face.
But it's like, and here's the part, like they're having these discussions, and Shawnee's noticing the whispering. But I think the most important whisper that happens is I forget who specifically, but someone goes and whispers to Ben. And if Ben's the target, well, why are you whispering to Ben? And I can hear you whispering. You're not whispering anything. Like, there's no game substance to what you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Something's up.
Yep.
She knows. She can read the room. This is
She's
and poor
been
Paige
on an
didn't.
island for 108 days. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah. So it's time to vote. We're seeing where it's going. You know, JLP comes back. Anyone has an idol, now's the time to play it. And there goes Shawnee.
The face.
Me.
Hey.
And all the heroes are just
like, come on, guys.
On George.
Yeah. One idol's been played. You have to know there are more idols. Like it's just, but I mean, they were struck. There's nothing they could do. There's only 4 votes, so it's not like they could split.
And if you're watching this as these newbies, or you're going to hear about it at the next meet when heroes can tell villains or villains can tell heroes, are you not petrified that George is getting the queen of the game to play an idol for him? If at this point you're not only going for George,
right?
You're insane.
So
why are you not going after Shawnee?
He is
why
doing
Shawnee?
Correct.
Yeah. So with this idol play and with Paige being sent home, This is the 5th time in the last 7 tribals that Flick and George have been in a tribal council together where she has unsuccessfully voted for
Taking
George.
him out. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And I find that narrative hilarious.
Hilarious.
5 out of 7 times she's tried to take out George, and it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Has not taken him out any single time. And the preview for the next episodes are like Shawnee and George are the kingpins, and you have all 3 of the heroes like scattering to them like, I can be a double agent. Yeah. I can work with you guys. And I think that's why ultimately, and the main crux here is Ben made the wrong choice tonight. Yeah. I don't know what was in his decision making of sticking true to the heroes, because you stick true to heroes and you take out George, Shawnee, whatever you're right back at the bottom. Your only move is going to Macedonian Jesus and the Queen of Survivor, bowing down, kneeling, and asking, can I be under your protective wing?
Well, it's kind of like my question why Jerry hasn't we all know where he's voting now after this vote, because, we see that he votes with them, but there was never like a clear, like, I am with George. We don't like actually hear Jerry say that. So it still worries me that Jerry like could flip flop back and forth. He like scares me as a flip flopper that might screw over George. Yeah. So
and my one thing for the next Matt talk, when they see that Paige has been eliminated and you get a reaction from the meat tray, I really hope George takes another shot at them and goes, don't send someone to do your work. Or you aim for the king, you bring your own sword. Don't bring your squire.
Why is he so good?
Like, I hope Pete's listening to this be like, oh, that's a good line. I should have used that.
Yep.
He'll pay it.
And so that gets us through episode 9. Does anybody have any last thoughts?
8 newbies are gone.
Just Paigey, like that was just so horrendous to watch. Yeah. Like I just watched it just going, she is feeling every bit that we're feeling.
Yeah.
And I feel if there's one thing to take away from this week though, is you have to appreciate just the level of game player that George and Shawnee are. Like this was 3 episodes of just masterclass. Like this is how you play. This is how you get this good at Survivor.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah.
So do you guys, are you putting it out there, being American super fans that you are, because I've got zero knowledge on this. Is he, regardless of what happens this season, just from what you've seen as to now, is he up there with like what, top 3, top 5 Survivor players? What's the thoughts?
I think it's hard. I used to put so much weight on a win, but the way that he moves, he's one of the most, he is going to go down as one of the most polarizing players to ever exist. But him and Shawnee are definitely up there for me personally as some of the best game players, just period, as characters, as strategists, as just people who can execute their plans. They're among the top of the top.
Yeah.
I would set George apart. What puts him up there is that he is acutely aware that he is a character on a television show. That's what sets him apart. So like gameplay, a lot of people have really good gameplay, but he, from the moment he steps on that island, he knows that he is King George from Bankstown and he is on here to rule Survivor. However he carries himself outside of these days, but on here he is King George. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is.
Death.
But he's not like making definitive quotes like that in his confessional. Maybe he is. He probably is.
Chrissy, he talks. He's very similar, but you are so right. He knew that when he's doing his confessionals, the better they are, the more he's on TV. The others, the blessed souls of the other virgins to the game, have got no idea.
With that, we'll say he's a bit, as our own Johnny Fairplay. That's exactly what Johnny did. Yep. Johnny knew he was playing a character on the screen and was one of the best at it. So I definitely think, depending upon, top 3, top 5, see how the rest of the season plays out. But I think that's definitely the trajectory that he's going on.
Because I can't take my beer goggles off, like everything him and Syme even and Shonny now. And then I've got a bit of a crush on little Maddie. I think he's doing some clever stuff. And I still know Nina's going to be an absolute weapon. And I'm in love with Sean. So I'm so green-eyed monster. I don't know what's right and wrong and good and bad anymore. But from what I'm seeing, I don't feel like we've got a game on our hands because it's fascinating.
Okay. All right. And then for us, I think that is going to wrap it up for us tonight. We will be back same time next week to talk about the next 3 episodes. That'll be 10 through 12. If you want to hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube, you'll get notified when we're going live. You're not going to want to miss it. All the audio version will go up on all the podcasters, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music. Make sure to rate and review, give us 5 stars. Tell us how much you love us. Tell Chrissy how much you love her. And we'd appreciate it. It helps us with the randomly perfect or perfectly random algorithm. And then, as always, the best way to support the podcast is become a patron. You can do that at realitypatron.com. That gets you access to the secret Facebook group. You get access to the Q&As, which Matt and Johnny do every week. And as well as if you're listening and you're struggling to find the links for the Australian Survivor episodes, we send them out daily as soon as the episodes air. And for us, that'll do it. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Chrissy. We will see you back. Thank you, next week.
And for more bonus content, go to realitypatron.com. That's right, become a patron now. Get additional coverage of all your favorite shows, the weekly Q&A, and you become a member of the secret, exclusive Facebook group. That's realitypatron.com.